Hey everyone, welcome back to iOSCoding. Today we are diving into something truly game changing. I will show you how to chat with your documents using a RAG AI agent. Imagine having an intelligent assistant that can instantly pull insights from all your files, PDFs, reports, or spreadsheets, and then answer your questions just like a human expert would do. These AI chatbots can be a powerful tool for the business, whether you are streamlining your customer support, making data driven decisions faster, or enhancing the team productivity. Stick around, and by the end of this video, you will learn how to set up a RAG AI agent, chat with your documents, and unlock its full potential for personal or business use. Let's get started. First, let me show you what we will be building, and then I will walk you through step by step. Here I have created a static web page for our fictional restaurant named Flavor Fusion. There is nothing fancy about the web page, but the feature we are interested on is this chat with us button at the right hand side. If I click on it, you can see there is a AI agent embedded, and then we can ask that AI agent business specific questions. For example, what are the hours of operation? And it answered the restaurant is open from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Keep in mind that this answer is not something fictional made up by AI agent. Instead, we trained our AI agent to answer these questions based on whatever data we have provided. Similarly, you can ask something like, is there a minimum order for delivery? And you will get an accurate answer. This is how the N8N workspace look like. This is exactly where the magic is happening behind the scenes. Just to ensure that we are using this AI agent, we can also click on this chat button. In the chat window, we can ask the same question which we asked previously. You can see the workflow ran successfully, and then we got the same answer in here as well. So what exactly is happening behind the scene? In order to understand that, first let's understand how do you actually train your AI model. I know I'm gonna bore you with a lot of information, but I feel this is necessary to make a solid foundation. There are two ways which you can use to train your AI model. One is called RAG, which stands for Retrieval-Augmented Generation. Basically, this is a fancy name of feeding all sort of information to your AI agents in the form of PDFs, Excel sheets, Word documents, and then store them in a database called vector database. Unlike the relational database such as MySQL or Oracle, vector database store, manage, and query the data in high-dimensional vectors. Basically, all your unstructured data is encoded as numerical embeddings or featured vectors, and the retrieval of the information is much more quick. Second way to train your AI model is actually a direct training. First, you will choose a model to your specific needs, for example coding or Gen AI, and then you will prepare the dataset which you can retrieve from Hugging Face or other open source websites. Finally, you will start training the model with that dataset. Sounds complicated, huh? Indeed, it is complicated and complex process. You need to have a programming experience, and if you're not a technical, good luck with that. Not just that, let's say if you have some information which is constantly changing, you will have to keep repeating the process of training your AI models. Because remember, these AI models, they keep the information based on the data set they were trained on. So for a frequent changing knowledge and minimum hassle, RAG agents are the best way to go. Do remember that we need a vector store to store the information. Enough with the theory, now let's put our AI agent at work. Instead of creating the entire workflow from scratch, I will walk you through what I have built, and then you can mimic this step by step. Our workflow has three phases. This side of the workflow helps to retrieve the documents from our vector database Supabase. Before we actually can retrieve anything, we need to have some sort of the mechanism to insert the documents into Supabase data store. This is where this portion of the workflow comes in handy. I will explain you everything in a minute. And the last portion in here is to update the existing documents. For example, if you're building a RAG AI agent for a restaurant, there might be needs that their promotions are changing weekly basis or daily basis or at certain occasions. Now, instead of keep inserting the new documents over and over with the conflicting information, we want to ensure that the existing information in our Supabase data store is cleared up before we can actually insert the updated information. Otherwise, if there are multiple answers to same question, that might confuse our AI agent, which will in return result in inaccurate information provided to the customer. Let's focus on inserting the documents in database now. Here I have placed the Google Drive trigger. We will use the Google Drive as our data source. This is where all our files will be placed in, which will be eventually downloaded and sent to the Supabase data store. If you don't know what Google Drive trigger is, or in case you don't have any idea, I will highly suggest that you watch other videos in the playlist in which I have thoroughly explained everything. Let me open the properties of Google Drive trigger. Here we are looking for any modifications in a particular folder called rag. If you click on this link, it will take you to the rag folder. In my case, I have created a flavorfusion.txt file. This txt file has the FAQs about our fictional restaurant. As you can see, what are the opening hours, for example, some of the menu FAQs, etc. This is the information which we will use to train our AI agent, and then whenever a customer will ask FAQ about the fictional restaurant, this information will be used. Back in the workflow, we are looking for a change every minute in that folder. So if in case your staff is going to that folder and making changes to one of the existing files, or probably inserting new files, this is what we are looking for. And then we are looking for the file updated. If you click on fetch test event, you can see in here the ID of the file is downloaded along with its name. This is the ID in which we are interested in. Once we have the ID of the file, we want to eliminate all the noise which was downloaded previously like this. So I have placed the set fields node, which is only mapping the ID of the file to a field called file_id. So if I click on test step, you can see all this noise is removed. We only ended up with the file ID. Now we know the file which was modified by its ID. Next, we can download that modified file from the Google Drive. So I have placed a Google Drive trigger. Instead of downloading the file by URL, we are using the by ID, and then we will pass this file ID into this field. If you click on test step, you can see our flavorfusion.txt has been downloaded, which you can view as well. And also you can download this if you want to have a local copy on your system. We have the file. Now we want to ensure that the text from that file is extracted. That's why I'm using extract from file node in here. We are extracting the text from the downloaded file. This is optional. I actually placed it on purpose because in certain cases, let's say if you don't have a text file which AI agent can directly deal with it, you need to have some sort of mechanism to extract the text out of other file formats, for example PDF file. So if in case you have PDF file, you can put a switch case in here, create another extractor which will eventually extract the text from the PDF instead of your regular text file. If I click on test step, you can see all of our FAQs, they were extracted from that downloaded binary data. At this point, we are ready to upsert our documents in Supabase Vector Store. Before I show you the Supabase Vector Store node itself, let's get you started by signing up on the supabase.com. Quickly head up to supabase.com. Here you can see sign in button. You can continue with your GitHub account, or you can create your account by using email and password. I already have the account with the GitHub integration, so I will simply click on continue with GitHub. Once you are signed up, you will be taken to a dashboard which looks like this. You might not have any organization or any project, which means you will have to create one. Click on the new organization if this is the first time you are creating your first project in Supabase. This will ask you for simple details about the organization, and then we want to choose the free tier plan, which is sufficient enough to get you started. Then you can click on create organization. But since I already have an organization, I will simply cancel it. And in the previous window, I will click on the new project. It will ask us to place it under an organization, which is the existing organization we have. You can name the project anything. For example, I will name it Flavor Fusion. And then for the database password, click on this generate password and then click on create new project. Before that, actually you can select a region which is close to your location. If you're okay with the default location shown, simply click on create new project. Once the project is created, you will be taken to another page which has this service role secret displayed. Click on this reveal button and then click on copy. This is the information you will require when setting up the Supabase credentials in N8N. copy them and then paste it into your location. Also, you will need the URL of the project as well, so copy this and then paste into your notepad or wherever you're keeping track of these credentials. Before we can use the Supabase database, we need to prepare it in a vector space. Don't worry, this is an easy step. You don't have to be a SQL database admin in order to perform that. Supabase already has a documentation about it. So click on this SQL editor. In this SQL editor, I will show you how to grab the table. So go back to our RAG on the Supabase Vector Store, double click on it and open the docs. Here you can see there's a link called Quick Start for setting up your vector store. Click on it, and then this is the code which you need. So copy it, and then under our SQL editor just paste it. What this code is doing is creating a table called documents, which you can name it to your needs, and then it has some of the other information which is required for the vector database. Then click on run. As soon as you see success, you are good to go. So let's go back to database. Under tables, you can see we have documents table configured. You can also go to table editor, and then you can see we have documents table configured with ID, metadata, and then embedding style, which is type of vector. Back in the workflow, let's reopen the properties of this Supabase Vector Store node. Under here, you will click on create new credentials, which will ask you Supabase website and then the service role secret. Once your credentials are connected, we need the operation mode to insert document, and then we want to put the option which is match underscore documents. Don't click on the test step yet. You will have to attach the embedding model. I am using the OpenAI embedding model. I already have the credentials configured, and then the type of the model we are using text embedding 3 small. You will also need a document loader, which is the default data loader. Keep the type of the data to JSON mode to load all data input. Here we want to attach the metadata of the document which we are inserting in the database. So I have called the metadata as a file underscore ID, and the value is under mapping. Go to set fields and then this file ID value. So basically, anytime a particular file is modified and inserted into the database, next time if the modification happens to the same file, we want to ensure that only that particular file and its relative contents are deleted rather than deleting the entire database. Once you have all that, you can dismiss the properties. And then finally, we need to attach a recursive character text splitter, which is just have chunk size of 200 and then chunk overlap to 20. You can adjust these settings based on your needs. Let's try running this entire workflow. Before I run this entire workflow, let me actually do a cleanup so I can show you the data is inserted. Back in the Supabase dashboard, I am in the table editor of my current table, which is documents. So let's just delete this. Okay, as you can see, if I refresh the page, there is no data in my table. So under here, we already have the ID. All we have to do is run this Supabase Vector Store node. The workflow is running, and once finished, we should have some data ended up in our Supabase Vector Store. Okay, so the workflow finished. Let's go back in here, refresh our page. As you can see, there are records already available which we can use through our AI agent. Since we have the records available right now, let's try to retrieve them. In this node, I have configured the chat trigger node, which basically enables a chat widget for us, so you can actually send instructions to the AI agent. I'm using a regular AI agent which requires a chat model. Again, I'm using OpenAI chat model. The memory type, I'm using memory buffer, which is not recommended in production environment. You should have some sort of a fixed long-term memory, for example, PostgreSQL or Redis. This will ensure that all the chat history is kept long term in the database somewhere. So if in case your customers were asking similar questions which were not part of your original training data, you can include those questions as well for future references. If you don't know about all these AI agents and stuff, I will highly suggest that you watch out other videos. Here we have AI agent. Let's open the properties. You can see I have an expression value for the system prompt of this AI agent. Here I'm just saying your helpful AI agent with working for this restaurant. Your name is Anna. Use this particular tool to answer the user's questions. Let's cancel that. As a tool, I have attached the Vector Store database tool. I have given it the same name as what we configured in the AI agent's system prompt. This tool looks for the vector store, which will in turn have our credentials, and then we will have the table name which we previously created, and then we want to put the option to match the documents. And then finally we need the embeddings as well as one open chat model. So if I click on this delete button and then start a new chat, here we can ask questions like what are the hours of operation. You can see the AI agent is going through all the nodes, also ensuring that it actually is going to the Supabase Vector Store, and finally it provided us with an answer. Here in the right hand side of the AI agent logs, you can see the number of nodes it went through, which is Supabase is one of them, and then there was a query, some sort of what are the hours of operation. Under the output there's a bunch of operations happening, and then finally it retrieved the required information from the vector store. And that's pretty much it for the retrieval portion. The last phase, which is very important in this workflow, is this workflow at the bottom. As explained earlier, we do not want to have the duplicate records in our Supabase database. For example, if hours of operations are changing based on certain conditions, we do not want to have our AI agent with the conflicting information. So maybe the original document said our hours of operation are 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. but for certain reasons, because we change these hours from let's say 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. only, our AI agent will be confused. It would not be able to differentiate. It may provide some vague information to the customers, which we do not want. Let's actually demonstrate that. Original hours of operations are from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. So what we want is we want to go to this flavorfusion.txt file, open it up with the editor, and change the hour of operations from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. to midnight. Save the file. Back in the N8N workflow, our AI agent still does not have any information about the updated data. So if I ask it what are the hours of operation, it will still return the same information. You can see there is no change in the answer. But now let's go back to the bottom on this workflow. Here we are doing a file updated Google trigger, which is basically looking for a change in particular file. In this case, we updated our flavorfusion.txt, so I will fetch that file. Now this is where the file ID comes in handy. If you remember, we assigned a metadata when inserting the files into the database using file ID. Instead of updating a new document, what we want is we want to delete that particular file from the Supabase data store using that file ID. Because the file ID, it never changes. Once it is uploaded, the metadata and the other information will stay the same. So we can use this Supabase node to retrieve a document with particular ID. So here I'm using my Supabase account credentials. So make sure you choose the resources to row operation to delete, and then the table, we have only one table called documents. Now what do you want to retrieve and delete? Say select type to string, and then copy and paste this particular line in your filters. Let me zoom out this a little bit. So what exactly we are telling to our widget is basically look for a metadata which has a file ID field, and then the file ID is similar to the ID which we have downloaded of the modified file. In plain English, what it will do is it will go through the Supabase database table called documents, and then it will try to find out a document with the ID which we are passing to it. If I click on test step, you can see this node executed successfully, and under our Supabase database, if I refresh my page, you can see all records associated to that particular file ID has been deleted. So now you don't have any other record. If in case you had multiple files being uploaded, you will have the data from other files in this table except the one you were looking to update. Once the records are deleted, we want to keep track of the deleted records, which is basically an output of your previous Supabase node execution. Whatever was deleted, we want to retrieve its ID, and then we want to map it under this variable name called file_ID. If I run this, you can see there are multiple outputs, but the ID is the same. There were 41 items returned. We don't need all of them. We are looking for only one ID. So I have created this limit filter in which we are just keeping one item of the max, whatever was retrieved previously. Right now we have single item with the ID. Now rest of the workflow is pretty much the same. So once you have the ID, we will use that ID to download that file from the Google Drive, just as previously we did. So we are downloading the file by the ID. Then once we have the file, we will extract the text out of it using extraction node, which is the same. And pretty much once we have the FAQs extracted, then we will upsert them into our database by running this node. Once the node execution is finished, we will go back to Supabase. Let's refresh our page, and you can see we have the new records updated. In here you can open up this record. Our hours of operation have been changed from 12 p.m. to midnight. Let's try pulling this information using our AI agent. So go back in here. I will open this chat window. Sometime it may have old records because we are using the Windows buffer, but let's give it a try. So I would say, what are the hours of operation? And then you can see it quickly switched from 11 a.m. to our latest hour of operations. Let's close this chat window. Let's actually test it on our customer facing website as well. So let's go to our Flavor Fusion website again. Click on this chat with us button to open up the AI agent. Here we can ask, what are the hours of operation? As you can see, your customers are able to retrieve up-to-date information on your website as well. One more thing I want to point out is you will not see these workflow executions in N8N workflow like this, because this is the direct interaction with the workflow. Instead, what you can use is this execution button. Another important thing when it comes to embedding these AI chatbot is make sure your workflow is active by pressing this button. And that is pretty much all you need to set up your RAG AI agent, which you can keep up to date with the latest and greatest information to serve your clients or even use it for personal use. The entire process which I just showed you, it will ensure that there is no duplication of the information and it is always accurate. If you do like the video, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I will appreciate any sort of feedback, so make sure to share your thoughts in the comment section below.